Hello. Long hello. Hey, like I said, I've finished reading The Ocean at the End of the Lane, or Toateotl. Toteotl, there we go. Toteotl, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I won't give you any spoilers, but it's really good. Even though it's short, there's a lot of competition for me between this and American Gods as to which one is my favourite Neil Gaiman book. Because this is short and I really enjoy this. And I don't know if you do this with books, but when I look at a book, it has like, and I read it, and overall, and I get this with just objects as well, it has like a sort of, there is one sort of whole image or colour or flavour for it in my head. And this has a very distinctive one. You can see in the cover captures it really well, that sort of dark blue murkiness, you know, with the stars and everything. And that's what the book sort of feels like as well. It probably sounds quite mushy, but it does kind of feel like that. It's not just judging a book by its cover, it's genuine. Like American Gods, I can't remember what the cover looks like, but it has a distinctive sort of flavour in my head, a distinctive colour. I do that for everything. I do it for like years. 2004 has a look in my head, just the word 2000, the numbers 2004, 2003. Some years obviously I don't really know, 2000, I was 6. Just saying the word 2005 or 2007 or 2009 gives a very certain feel. So I don't know if you get that, I thought that was an interesting diversion. And we shall have the Toteotl book club, the Neil Gaiman book club, and we can discuss things like the importance of cats, which I understand are very important in this, and themes like the white mini and the significance of why it's white, and they got a black rover to replace it. See, I can do imagery, English stuff. Maybe the fact that Neil Gaiman has finally done his whole hempstock thing. What does that mean in relation to the rest of his books, and people saying it's his best? Is it maybe his last big thing, his last big novel? Who knows? He's apparently 55, but look at him. That man is either not 55 or he's a very good 55. I think he probably has more work ahead of him, but it's either not in novel form or it's not the same kind of novel. But yeah, he does everything like Stephen Fry, which I love people doing that. Well, sorry, Hitchens did it, Christopher Hitchens did, Stephen Fry does, Neil Gaiman does. Anyway, continuing discussion. It says Tumblr base blocked, which means any site with tumblr.com is blocked, because it stops people in the school going on it in lessons, which sucks. I still can't see your comic fully on the website, but I did see it on Google Mail. I saw it on Gmail, on my Gmail account, and I thought they looked really cool, because I always like the look of them, and they still look really cool, and it's nice to see that you actually have prologues and chapters and stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Magmies in action. I just love them. Magmies, Mugmies, whatever, they're just like, they look just brilliant. I love them. I don't know why I love them so much. You just show me one little picture of a green blob which is smiling. Like, this is a Magmie or a Mugmie. See, I can't remember the name, but I still love it. I'm looking forward to seeing the storyline progression. My dad came in with a few books, and one of them is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. It's like a pristine copy, and I had no idea we had it because I mentioned we went to the Neil Gaiman talk in PAF, and I'd never heard of him, and I was like, oh, I recognise this man. And it's got a little thing by Diana Wynne-Jones, who you mentioned and who Neil Gaiman mentioned, and she's apparently said it's the best book he's ever written when he wrote it, and it was in 2010, so that's pretty interesting. I will read this, and if you haven't read it, then you could read it. Sword names. When you told me about sword names and coming up with them, I thought back to some books I have, which I will go get now. This is the Viking trilogy by Tim Severin, there, and Tim Severin is sort of cross between a historian, an author, and an experimental archaeologist. And an experimental archaeologist means he just goes and like recreates stuff, so like he builds Viking ships and Viking houses and lives in them and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. This one has a massive sword on the front, and all the books have very Viking names like Odin's child and sworn brother, King's man. Basically, it's about this guy who's like the Forrest Gump of the Viking world, because he has these legitimate but fairly random and amazing travel opportunities in the Viking world. So he gets to do all these really cool things. But it's just as the Viking world is sort of decaying and tipping over, because it's the Vikings have been powerful throughout Europe for about 200 years, and now they're just sort of on the way out. And it finishes with 1066 at the end of this one. And this sword, I'm not sure they give it a name in the end, but it's robbed from a Frankish tomb of like some really rich guy, which is why it's got all these wavy patterns on it, because that's pattern welding, which means it's super strong and super expensive. And there's a bit in here where he's working as a poet, what was called a skald, which were like these guys who were effectively bards, and they'd write sagas and they'd recite sagas and so on. Yeah, but these guys use what they call kennings, where you don't call a thing by its name, you make up like a metaphorical name for it, like a sword is often like a leg biter, or like death's arrow, death's steel or something. Yeah, I found it. There's a bit on page 11 of Sworn Brother where there's a skald called Herford who's taken on the main character as his apprentice temporarily, and they're actually trying. He walks in on them saying all these random words and realizes he's trying to figure out a kenning for a sword. So he's saying things like battle wolf, battle gleam, beam of war, whetstone's hollow, hard ring, battle icicle, one of my favourites. You call your sword battle icicle, I like that. If I remember correctly, he comes up with a good one in the end. Yeah, he comes up with Death's Flame, and that was his kenning for a sword. I'd be tempted to pick one of those, and if any of those stood out for you, then pick those too. Well, I hope Herbert is keeping you good company, and I'm looking forward to seeing you for Les Mis soon. It will be super awesome. Bye, see you soon. My dad came in again asking about the Much Ado About Nothing DVD for his Shakespeare English classes. Much Ado About Nothing?